Okay.
Jessica Thompson, thank you so much. I'm Dr. Treadway. I'm filming. Today is February 26th, 2025, and I just observed 2 periods of fantastic health science, technology, pharmacy tech, medical math, specifically at ATCC with Mrs. Thompson. So thank you so much for having me today. I really enjoyed it. So this is our post-conference conversation, and so we'll just talk. And so the first thing I wanted to ask you is, how did it go?
I think it went well. They have been working on medical abbreviations. They've been working on medical conversions, which are difficult. Conversions are very difficult because they have to be able to go from household to apothecary to metric and be able to go through all 3 different systems. So today is easy compared to what they've been doing. So it's kind of like a little bit of a breather for them because they're just like, oh, okay, I can do this. This is easy. And so I don't have to do any conversions. I just have to do basic math today. So today's worksheet is honestly easy for them compared to what they've been doing. They took a big quiz yesterday that really kind of, this is what they actually did yesterday. This is the quiz they did yesterday. And so it's really kind of a shock to their system that and it's 2-sided. And so this is what they had to do. And so they had to do military time, Celsius, milliliters to liters, kilograms, grams, everything. And so so today is just kind of like, okay, my brain can process this. It can handle this. And so,
And show me, do you have a sample of their work that they're working on today that I can?
Yes.
Let's get that on video just to show the kind of the contrast. Because what I saw them doing when I walked around the room, I mean, they were really working some complex equations at first glance.
This is what they're doing. And so I don't teach the way the book teaches it. This is how I learned it. I'm not even going to say how many years ago. This is how I learned it. And as long as they set it up this way, so this will always be what their order is or what they need. This will always be what they have available or what's on supply. And then if they need to, they can add another parentheses, which is their conversion.
Yes.
So nothing in this packet has any conversions. Everything will always be the same metric system. So they don't have to worry about it. This is just finding out basic dosages.
Yes.
And so here they go through and they learn that, okay, my milligrams are going to cancel out. And so I'm left with tabs. So they learn the basic math and they learn that I always have to say, I'm going to give 2 tablets or 10 mils or tabs or whatever. And I start with the video because I want them to know the severity of what happens if you don't pay attention, if you don't, and it was a very honest mistake that Miss Vandy made. She was in a hurry. She did type in the first 2 letters of the medication. It just happened to be the same as the paralytic. And it's not to scare them. It's just to show them reality. And when we start the lesson of medical math at the very beginning, I tell them we're all human.
Right.
We all make mistakes. I've made med errors, but you have to be responsible and own up to it and say, this is what I've done. Let's take care of the patient and go from there. So,
and I really appreciate your demonstrating that today for me in particular, because you reinforced what I've always wondered about, which is how much practice do medical professionals get when they go through these classes on safety measures?
yeah.
And the lessons that you were reinforcing, it wasn't just the content or the process, but it was also those dispositions that we talk about in class,
Right.
Being careful, being diligent, persevering. And you mentioned and talked today about, there's a nursing shortage. And so again, you were just, with everything that you did, you were reinforcing, you were teaching the why.
Right. they have to know why. If I'm just making them learn all these conversions and doing all this, and it is like I told them, I said, you're going to want a highlighter for later on when the problems get harder.
Yes.
Like the scored on there, it has nothing to do with solving the problem. And as we get into the harder problems, there's going to be more information and it tangles them up, and they don't need that. And so there's no reason to get bogged down with that. And that's life. There's all kinds of stuff that you don't need that bogs you down. And so one of the best things I ever watched was a college professor, I don't know if you've seen it, and he brings in a big jar, a big jar, and he puts golf balls in it. And he says, these are your big life things, you know, marriage and kids and all of that. And then he's like, do you think the jar's full? And kids say yes. And it's not. And then he puts little rocks in, and these are other little things. And then he puts sand in it, and then he said these are other things. And then he puts water in it, and he demonstrates all the little things in life that can bog us down and everything. And so, you know, I love that, and it's just one of the best clips that I've ever seen. And another one is, have you seen it was the naval captain or naval admiral, and he talks about making your bed every morning. Have you seen that one?
Love that.
And so I show that one too at times. And you know, they're gonna have to know how to do this, and I know that they're like, Miss T, that's what I tell them. They're like, I can divide 500 by 500, it's 1. And I know that, but in the heat of the moment, when you have so many different things going on, it's very easy to make a mistake. And that's why I have them do the math and show me the work and get in the habit of doing all of that. But more than anything, where do I go to look it up?
Yes.
Because if you have somebody come to you and say, oh, well, I know the weight-based for this age child and all of it. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Everything's weight-based. You can't, there's no way possible to know all of that. That's why we have Braslow's, and that's why we have different charts and stuff. So if they don't know how to do that, I want them to be able to come and tell me, this is where I go, or this is what I look up, or this is, you know, this is what I do. That's one reason I show the video. That's why I tell them, you know, and I reemphasize, you've got to take care of yourself. I know we're supposed to have the grades and we're supposed to have this, but, you know, a lot of the test domain is getting to know your students, having that rapport, having all of this. Well, sometimes that's taking out the true false of a workbook that's too hard for somebody, or that, well, not even that it's too hard, but it's just, it's too much for them that day. You know, they need that little bit that's just, give me just a second, you know. They maybe need a little bit of a break and say, you know, we have to be able to take care. If we take care of them now, they're going to learn those mental health and learn that extra stuff that helps them later on when they're.
And what you're talking about is cognitive load. That was a lesson I learned this week with that basic elements of curriculum class. That's 34 people. And I thought, why am I going so fast? Why is it, you know, you have to go slow to go fast oftentimes.
And that's what
because
I told
you know
them.
your students.
Right. And that's what I told him. I said, I can do the math in my head. I can see it and I can, and you know, and I can see it and I know how to do it, but I've done it for years. You know, and so it takes that practice, and that's why if I show them and we do the GRR and do the gradual release, you know, I show them and I talk how I'm doing it, then have them do it, and then and I try to use the different colors. I swear somebody comes in and takes the tops off of my markers, but if I use the different colors, that helps my visual students see, okay, this is this one, this is this one. So I try to add in those little things because I know there's people that are more visual versus just the auditory, and then I know there's people that have to write it, the kinetic. That's why we did our candy one at the very beginning so that they could see this is a teaspoon, this is a tablespoon. So now when we're doing the dosage problems, some of them were like, okay, 300 mils, is that right? They're questioning it because they remember 300 mils was a lot. That's over a cup. So they're like, okay, is that right? And which is what I want them to do.
Yes,
You know.
exactly. When you start mentoring novice instructors who come through, that gradual release of responsibility, if you can demonstrate, and I'm sure you will demonstrate that, and if they can do that with their students and emphasize that practice
And
is
it's so big with us with CTE.
huge. Yeah, with CTE, it just fits so beautifully to have the purpose. You're teaching the concepts and the processes in context of the role, of the professional role. I wish all teachers would do that,
And it's hard to
to
do.
connect to.
It's hard to, as far as like, even as a nurse, you know, I mentored new grads, and it's very hard.
Yes.
One, because I move fast, you know, in the ER, it's hard to take that and step back and be like, okay, this is how we would do this. And it's hard to do that GRR in that text, you know,
Yeah.
in that space. And so it's not as hard to do it here, but it is hard to do it, you know, in the field.
Yes.
So I think I'm lucky that I've done it in the field and
Yes.
can kind of do it.
Do it.
Oh, okay.
And
Do
do it now. But even here, it's hard. You have to make yourself step back and be like, okay, they have to take ownership, and you have to let them have control of the lesson, and that's hard to do
Yes.
at times.
Yes. Let's talk about your question about learning objectives.
Yes. So
Because I
in
think
my
this is a good time to
in
do
my
that.
first one, she said that my learning objectives were not measurable.
Yes.
And so I guess I struggle because I know there's supposed to be I can statements. So students is I can, but then it's like,
Well, the key to this is it's really simple. And I've not taught this, and I've explained to Christina that I have not been explicit with this, but what we want you all to get into the habit of is thinking about a mastery at a certain level. I think most of us think about 100% mastery because that's really what you want, especially in this context. But during the learning process, the progress that students are making, a good rule of thumb, a minimum is 80%.
oh, so you want us to actually put like a percentage.
As if you had a rubric
Okay.
for performance
Okay.
on the regular, but you could even create just a regular kind of generic rubric that at the highest level, of course, we would want, you know, between 80 and 100%.
Okay.
Or say 90 and 100. It's kind of like, you know, communicating with students. You know, for most of the time, everybody, I want you to be really at the highest level that you can be. Really be getting it, learning it, demonstrating what, you know, I want you to know and be able to do. At a minimum level, 80% is what we would want everybody to be doing, even on a kind of a bad day, I suppose. So what you can do is here in your learning objectives, you could say students can actually accurately explain the basic formula, blah, 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 at an 80% of mastery.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay.
So
So
it's
that's where I was like,
Yeah.
so then I put down there success, how I would, so down here I put how I was going to do it.
see, yes.
And then I put my tiered levels on what, but I didn't.
Well, actually,
Okay.
for the tiered levels, what you could do, and you could even have something up on the wall for them. If you're at the advanced level, then you're really working,
Okay.
you're understanding at an A level.
Okay.
and 90 to 100%. Intermediate, or maybe even better than that.
Okay.
Um,
So I have got it there. I just need to add in
just
like
a
my
percentage. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
That's really what
Okay.
what I'm going to start
So
asking
that
everybody
makes,
to do.
That makes better sense, because I was
Yes.
like, I couldn't wrap my head around the I
Yes.
can and then how we were. Okay.
And you could even think about a conversion chart. So what would 80% be? A B.
Mm-hmm.
And then
And
90
for
to
us,
100
you
an
have to-
A.
Yeah, but see, for us, you have to have a C or above, or it's not considered passing.
Okay.
So we're on a little bit different level scale than your regular high school.
And so passing,
So you would have to have a C, B. So ours would literally be like a C, B,
CBA,
A. Mm-hmm.
yes. And so what that could do is, if you communicate that with students, it's just another way of students being able to understand what you are looking
Right.
for, and then what the profession is looking for. In the
Okay.
program, C is passing, but I would like everybody, even on a bad day, to be understanding and demonstrating their learning at a B level. And on a really great day when it's all flowing, I'd love for everybody to be
At that.
feeling advanced, which
Right.
would be 90 to 100.
Right.
And that could give you another way to check in with them at the end. How are you feeling? Tell me, what percentage of this material did you understand? Did you feel like you had mastered?
Well, even going around and talking like a couple, like Kelly that was sitting back here, she struggles, and she is one of my 504 IEP students.
Yes.
And she was smiling. So
Oh,
she
good.
Was,
yes.
So even that, some of mine that were
beautiful.
It's Shirley and I were talking, and like they can't read the clock, and that I've struggled, like the analog clock.
Wow.
They don't know how to read an analog clock. Language is a big barrier. They don't know what dispense means. They don't know. There's a lot of different things that, and it's not a post-COVID. It's a generational thing.
Yes.
If they don't have their phone or their computer right there that they can look something up, they don't know what to do. Anastasia was, because she messaged me, and she was like, "Hey, are you free?" And I said, "Oh, I'm leaving work. What's up?" And she's like, "I just wanted to call and tell you something." She had her students look up words in a dictionary the other day, and they didn't know what to do.
Yes.
They panicked.
Right.
They're like, "Do we just keep flipping till we find it?" And they're like, "Well, I have to keep singing the alphabet to be able to find." And so it's difficult generation wise, because we didn't have any of this technology. I mean, I took typing on literally a typewriter.
Oh yeah.
And
yes,
so
yes.
they don't know what to do when they don't have those resources, and that's why they have to use my calculators. They can't use their fancy calculators that they can program all of the conversions and stuff in, and they're actually having to think and so it's difficult to a certain extent, because I have to back up and make sure that they know how to read the analog clock, because if they can't do military time. And this year has been especially challenging, because they can't even do the basic math. Like, I literally had a student that could not divide 400 by 2 or 350 by 2. And so we literally, that was when we were doing problems, I literally had to take the candy and cut a Mike Ike in half and say, okay, this is this much, this is this much. And then you add in all my ESL students, and I was saying 1 1/2, and they were thinking, and I said 1/2. And so the way the language translates, we have issues there as well.
Yes.
And so this year has been extremely, extremely difficult. And I don't know how, and I was talking with Shirley, I don't know how to bring some of them up to where I need them to be to even start them out.
Yes.
And it's getting harder and harder every year.
Well, one way of kind of thinking about that is that whenever you're working with those kids who are not at the readiness level that everybody would like, is that whatever you have to do to bring them up, you could consider that to be review. And
I
that's
do.
excellent.
And I do. We do basic math. We go over fractions and ratios.
And good for everybody.
Yeah, we do. And
Yeah.
that's how I approach
I think that's
it.
the only thing you can do,
yeah,
don't
I don't,
you think?
Yeah, it is. I don't pull out individual students because I don't want to call anybody out. And so we do basic review, and I do that every year with my seniors. They get that first week is review over A and P and midterm, and it's just kind of, and that's what I do. I said, I'm just getting your brains warmed up, and so that's what I do with med math. I basically say, okay, we're just reviewing fractions, and we're reviewing this, and we're getting those brains warmed up, because some of them are like, well, I haven't had to take math this year. I'm like, how do you not take math? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't understand how you're not taking math in high school, but okay.
Yes.
But it's difficult because they're so used to being able to look something up and just be able to Google it. And I tell them, you can't Google medical things because it doesn't give you the right answers.
Yes.
And they don't. They can't grasp that concept.
So let's talk. In both periods, you demonstrated gradual release of responsibility. I do. You were at the board practicing. They were practicing with you. We do. You did more practice at the board, and then you walked around. What did you see that you're going to perhaps review or reteach tomorrow?
So some of them, when it's the milliliters, were messing them up. So when it says 25 milligrams per mil, that was kind of, the wording was kind of messing them up. When it said per capsule or per tablet, it was okay, but when it said per mil, it was kind of messing them up, because what I'll do tomorrow is I'll get some medicine cups out and get a syringe out so that they can see, like, if it's a tablet, you can either give a whole or a half, but when you get to mils or a syringe or a medicine cup, I can't get right in between the little lines and get a halfway in between the two lines. So they need to be able to see that I can't give 1.25. I can give 1.3, but I can't give 1.25 because I can't get right between those two little lines. So I'll pull that out tomorrow and show them that, I can't get right between. And so reemphasize that you have to round either down or up to the 10th, and then also remind them that you don't round anything until you get to your final answer. So that would be one thing that I'll reemphasize tomorrow. And then we have, they don't do a workbook they've done workbooks over the basic math, but they won't do a workbook anymore. For this unit, they will do worksheets every day. And so they'll this one have more problems to it, but like tomorrow we'll step it up just a little bit more. There'll be a little bit harder problems, and we'll work on those in class. And then if we finish it, it may be a worksheet that has 10 problems. It may be one that has 20. They'll do a worksheet every day. And so we'll do practice together, and then they'll work on it. And so tomorrow will be more basic problems, and then they have a quiz on Friday. And then Mondays are always work days because I have 2-3 schools that are out. We have schools that are out on Mondays, and we have schools that are out on Fridays because they do 4-day weeks.
Oh, yes.
So I really only have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays as instruction days. And so we will end up doing, I'll do a quiz on Friday, and then my JC Westside and my Western Yale just take it on Monday. And then next week we will start where we actually have to, here we will actually end up having where they have to do, like, this will say milligram instead of gram, and so they'll actually have to write in a conversion now. And so we will start all of that, and
so they'll really be showing their work.
So instead of just the basic, the next step is to add in conversions, so they actually have to really think about it and start adding in those. Okay, I have to know that 1,000 milligrams equals a gram, or anything that's weight based. it'll give you the pounds, but you have to switch it to kilograms before you can do the problem. And so, and I tell them, I said, girls, we always want our weight in kilograms because we weigh less. So,
That's
you
right.
know, you gotta always have your weight in kilograms.
I love that.
So,
That's so
we
cute.
will start switching into that. But I've got to make sure that they can do the basics
Yes.
first. And so they'll do worksheets each day. Sometimes they'll have stuff that they have to take home, but usually we finish in class, and it gives me a chance to walk around and say, okay, how are we sitting? How are we doing?
And the second period seemed like they were really on track. It's a smaller group than first.
It is. And we were missing a few people, but we've got to sit down and refigure our times because unfortunately some schools don't get here till like 8:10, 8:15, even though class is supposed to start at 8. And so our block is literally 8 to 9:35. But if some people don't get here till 8:10, 8:15, we normally would split at 8:55. Well, now they're only getting 8:15, 8:20 to 8:55, and then 9 to 9:35. So it's just, and our second block's not much better. We were supposed to start at 10:15, and they're not coming in till 10:30, 10:40. And so we're supposed to swap at 11, and so we've got to rearrange our.
Yeah.
It's just it's the way the school, and it's accommodating 12 schools, honestly. And so we've got to sit down and rework how, because I get him half the time and then he gets them half the time. We used to do it. You get them one day, I get them a day, you get them a day, and we would keep them the whole time. But now that we don't have some schools some days,
Right.
and it was too much, an hour and a half of one subject one day and then an hour and a half of another subject, they weren't engaging, and it was too much thrown at them.
Yes.
And it was better to get a little bit of this and then switch and get a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's what we've.
Yes.
And they respond better.
Yeah. Cognitive overload
Yeah,
on
it was
those
just too
days
much.
when the block was an hour and a half.
Yeah.
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 Very
You know, I mean,
interesting.
it's just like when we're in class, you're like, okay, let's take a break. Everybody stretch. You know.
Yeah. And I'm really respecting that 2-hour time now, no matter how big those classes are. It's that cognitive overload is real for all of us, including me.
I'll tell you what's cognitive overload. It's that student-centered coaching.
Yes, Diane Sweeney.
Yes.
Yes.
Now I've got my science of reading done.
Do you think this is helping you at all, kind of, or do you think you already do this?
I think I already do it to a certain extent.
Okay.
I think it would be helpful if I'm gonna log in and get the stuff online, because she gave her website and said where her handouts were. So I think I need the handouts, and it would be better.
Okay.
So
that's good.
I'm gonna log in and get the handouts for it.
So you can follow
So I
along
can
with
kind
those.
of follow along better, because I feel
That's
like
a good tip.
I feel like I'm missing.
Yeah.
I've finished unit 1, but I finished unit 1. I've got the science of reading done, and I have all the other modules done.
Yes.
So I just have to finish hers, and then I have different parts of the portfolio. I just need her to open up TaskStream. She still doesn't have us in TaskStream.
Okay, I'll ask her about that.
Because I'm one of those people that
Yes.
I can save it, but it's not done until I can
Yes.
upload and check mark it, and that I'm very OCD about that, and it's really kind of stressing me out.
You know what I wish you would do? I wish we could add the graduate certificate in teacher leadership. There may be a couple more classes that you need to take, and a 1-semester internship where you do this with a novice teacher.
I was waiting to see how my students did.
Okay.
Because if they go to nationals, I wasn't going to take any summer courses. So I'm kind of waiting to see if they don't go to nationals, which, knock on wood,
Yes.
we're waiting. Hopefully
they'll go.
Hopefully
Yes.
they'll go. But I'm also looking to teach a phlebotomy course and a CNA course this summer. So especially phlebotomy. So if we go, then I wasn't going to take any summer courses. If we don't, then I was going to see what he has offered this summer.
And then, because graduate certificate would be with me.
Oh, okay.
And your internship would be in the fall at your own pace.
Oh, okay.
And you would just really document how you're mentoring someone here in your building
Okay.
using these strategies.
Oh,
That's
okay.
it.
Okay.
That's it. And then you would apply to the state for the lead teacher designation. And not
Okay.
through tech, but through the state.
Okay.
So you would receive a certificate you can put on your wall for that. And then you would receive that. You could add the lead teacher designation
Okay.
to that, which is really documenting the fact that you can
Do the
mentor other teachers. You can demonstrate gradual release of responsibility, effective, organization of materials and grades and
my
stuff
desk
like
today.
that. Well, I'm more suspect of people who have a clean desk, if truth be told.
You.
So not to worry, but because everybody gets this way. Now, what do you do with it? How do you kind of dig yourself back
Well,
out?
and it's organized piles. It's
Yeah.
organized chaos.
Yes,
I know people don't really believe that.
Yes.
But that's all stuff they turned in yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's great. Yeah, so
Yeah, I'm
that's
gonna-
all stuff that they turned in today and yesterday.
Okay.
And then this is all exams that they've taken.
Mm-hmm.
This is all CNA exams that they finished yesterday. So this is all one exam.
That's fantastic.
So this is chapter 9
Yes.
or 6 through 19.
And then you can look at how they're doing and reteach from there if you need to.
And so they have CNA is really more common sense type stuff, and so we really push to go through the book work and the workbooks and all of that, and then we can spend more time on the skills and all of that.
Yes,
so
fantastic.
we go through the book work and then we highlight the skills, but then we really spend time on the skills, the interaction, and the practice test for headmaster. So
In fact, look what I brought you today.
oh, how cute.
So when patients need something to hold on to, I
Yes.
brought you 4 or
Thank
5
you.
of these.
Thank you.
And some little, you can share that with your colleagues.
Oh, thank
Aren't
you.
these cute?
Those are really cute.
And there's some tech pens in there.
Oh, yay. Thank you very
And,
much.
or with your children, whatever you want
thank
to
you.
do.
Thank you.
But fantastic. Do you have any other questions or anything else you would like to
I
discuss?
think my only big issues was I wasn't understanding the learning objectives.
Yes.
Now that makes sense to put
Mm-hmm.
put more of a like the goal where you want them to put that
Yes.
percentage, because that's where I was like I was like, okay, I know they're I can statements, but how do I measure?
Yes.
But now if I with the tiered, and then I feel like some of my answers are very similar to my first pre-observation, or my like different parts of my lesson plan are similar. Like when it asks about the socioeconomic and stuff, I was like, it really doesn't.
It will be very similar.
Some of
Yeah,
it doesn't
yeah.
necessarily change that much, just in the fact that I still get to know, I'm nosy. I ask them, how was your day? What are you doing?
Yes.
Because I spend a lot of time with my students.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
More than some other teachers do. I mean, they get them for 45 minutes. I get them for,
Yes.
like so my seniors, I have them for an hour and a half. And like I put on there the times, I do my best to stay with the times, but it depends on
Yeah.
how the schools, and we have interruptions all the time. Now
Yeah, that's where they have to be flexible.
so we
You
don't
have to be
necessarily we don't do that K through 12 standards.
Standards.
So this is the standards that they are using to do our accreditation. So this is one of the national standards, and so this is one of the national testing This is one of the national testing boards.
Yes.
So this is where I pull my standards from.
And the only thing that I would ask you to kind of think about here is highlighting, because I was reading.
Oh, I tried and it wouldn't let me, so I put a star by it.
Oh,
That's
okay.
why, and it was probably hard to see. I starred
okay,
where it
yeah.
was, and then I ended up.
And could you also star where you meet the required
Okay.
engagement and then where
Okay.
you go above and beyond with recommended?
Okay, we'll do.
And just honor that,
Okay.
just acknowledge that.
Okay.
And there was one more thing I wanted to make a recommendation to you on. Oh, yes, look here. So in the lesson plan where you're writing about differentiation, under content, I would love for you to describe gradual release of responsibility, because
Oh, I
that's
thought I
how
did.
you're
Okay.
differentiating with
Okay.
context.
Okay.
Content, rather, because
Okay.
you're explaining, you're differentiating, you're using technology, the board.
Okay. I probably thought I did, and I just
And then I made some.
Okay. Okay.
Can I make a copy? Can
Yeah,
I
we can make a copy.
make
yeah.
a copy of this and this? Because
Yeah.
I added just, highly effective across the board, Jessica. Just
you.
really exemplary. And then I just made some notes,
Okay.
and maybe some of that you can use in your
The only other question
portfolio.
I had was, it said on the pre-observation, I think the very last question was is it a professional
here.
something? What was the
Oh,
very
professionalism?
No, my professional growth plan.
So your PGP is something that teachers do, but
I mean,
if
we
you
have our
go to-
portfolios that we have to do
that's
here.
the PGP.
Okay, but we've not had to do them for the last several years. And I don't know if our new director is going to make us do it or not. And so I was going to go back through and do mine anyway. So would that be considered my?
Yes, use the template
Yeah,
in
there's a
your
whole template.
exit portfolio materials. Yeah,
Okay.
just do that so you.
So I will go back and look at that, and then I can, because I was like, I don't really have one, but I said how I try to I try to change things up every year
Yes.
because one, I
Depending
don't
on
want students to get stuff from students from previous years and just be like, oh, here's the answers, because they will do that.
Yes.
And
And then of course you get to know your students every year,
Right.
And you
change things.
you differentiate based on
Right.
what they need.
Right.
Yeah.
So okay, well then I'm gonna go back to because there's very specific requirements in
The exit portfolio.
the exit portfolio and our portfolios for tech.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also one thing you might want to
You
use
can come on in, David.
is, or include in there in your PGP, is the learning objectives
Okay.
that we've just discussed today. I
Okay.
think that would be and that might even help them with their math.
Yeah.
So, standards are high here. We want everybody to be working at that 80% level. What do you need to do in order to get there? Do you need to sleep better? Do you need to eat better? Are you hydrating? And so it all kind of becomes part of that overall learning culture,
Right.
the learning environment that you're establishing for your students. And that's the type of information I would love for you to share with novice instructors here who come in. This is a world in which you're teaching them how to be.
Right. We're teaching them how to go
professional.
out and do it. Right.
And Shirley was so interesting as we were walking in. She used the term durable
We are doing durable skills.
I love
So
that. I had
it's-
not heard that before.
So it's all.
I love that.
So it used to be soft skills.
Yes.
And then it was power skills.
Power
and now
skills.
the term's durable skills.
If
So
you-
all those soft
Oh,
skills are now
yeah.
durable skills.
If she shares any reading material, any articles, would
And
you think
we're
of me?
actually doing a program here that I can explain to the class.
Oh yeah, would you do that
yeah.
when we meet tomorrow?
Yeah, it's so we are
Fantastic.
focusing on a skill each month.
Yes.
And we're giving out ATCC bucks. So attendance is this month. And so then they can use it and go in, and the idea is that we'll have a store that they can go in and buy
that.
like swag or something,
Yeah.
but we're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
But that's what we're
Fantastic.
focusing on. So
That's great. Let me give you some swag. Maybe
yes, I'll
maybe
put
I
it in
could
there.
give you.
I will. I'll put it in there.
I'll give you some more of this stuff that you can put in there.
And so it's the idea that they can go in, attendance is this month, and I think, I can't remember. I'm on that committee.
Okay.
So I'll get you some of the information
great.
and about it. But it's essentially the same soft skills.
Yeah.
They
Love
have to be
that.
able to. And then we do draft day, so we have people come
Mm-hmm.
in and get them ready for interviews, and then I do the
Beautiful.
same thing with my seniors.
Fantastic. Again, I wish all teachers would think this practically about how they're teaching and make it come alive, make it real. So I commend you on all of the above.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for a
you.
wonderful day. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yay. All right.